Next news. Breaking news.
President Trump just slammed the door on visas for anyone who visited Ebola hot zones in the last 3 weeks. The move comes as the World Health Organization raises the alarm again on a fast-moving outbreak of the rare Bundibugyo strain. Hospitals in Congo are now under attack. Doctors are being airlifted out, and the numbers keep climbing. This is not the old playbook this time. This time, America has a leader who acts before the problem lands on our shores. See, your family's safety depends on swift borders and real leadership. When mobs torch treatment centers and communities reject medical help, the virus gains ground fast, and Trump's visa restrictions protect American citizens from exposure at the source. Past administrations left the door open. This White House is closing it tight. The outbreak is real. The strain has no vaccine, and the chaos on the ground makes containment harder. Without strong action here at home, imported cases could still reach our cities, and that is why every travel restriction, why it matters right now. And while the world watches another health scare unfold, many Americans are asking how to strengthen their own bodies against whatever comes next. Now, you've probably seen the clip of Joe Rogan sitting with Mel Gibson, talking about people close to him who went through serious health struggles and then saw dramatic turnarounds. Rogan brings up light-based therapies and how they impact the body at a cellular level. Gibson says it straight, this stuff works, and that got my attention because in my own life, I watched something very similar unfold. For a long time, my wife was dealing with constant discomfort and anxiety, one of those seasons where nothing seemed to help until we discovered red light therapy. The difference was night and day, and now I want you to experience the same breakthrough. Head to myredlight.com. Use NNN25 for 25% off individual items or NNN30 for 30% off bundles. Your body deserves every advantage when threats like this are in the headlines. Now back to the Ebola situation and the steps that are being taken to keep America safe. See, this is the part the mainstream media will not emphasize. Just months before this exact strain appeared, funding started flowing to companies developing shots for it. At the same time, an NIH researcher tied to Congo work was caught with undeclared samples, biohazard samples. The pattern looks very familiar after COVID. So we have this, the World Health Organization warning the Ebola outbreak is spreading very rapidly. So they're sounding the alarm on a rapidly spreading Ebola outbreak, but while officials scramble, President Trump and Marco Rubio just took decisive action. An American doctor who treated Ebola patients in Uganda has arrived in the Czech Republic after being evacuated from the region. The move comes as health officials race to contain a growing Ebola outbreak tied to rare Bundibugyo strain, a variant with no approved vaccine or treatment. Another U.S. doctor infected during the outbreak was flown into Germany for care after developing symptoms while working in the Congo. The World Health Organization has declared the outbreak a global health emergency. Doctor being transported to the Czech Republic. Straight out of PT. News. So the American doctor exposed, getting treatment. Trump and Rubio are not waiting around. President Trump and Rubio blocked visa issuances to foreigners who have visited South Sudan, Congo, or Uganda within the last 21 days because of Ebola, according to the Wall Street Journal. Good. Protect America. No foreigner has a right to a visa. And this was the news as it was developed. First breaking.
Concerned about Ebola?
I'm concerned about everything, but certainly am. I think that, it's been confined right now to Africa, but it's something that has had a breakout. I could ask Bobby or Oz to say a couple of words about it, if you'd like. Do you want to do that?
I think Heidi Overton is going to come up and give us a few words here. Dr. Overton.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Today, the CDC held a press briefing that provided a lot of the answers and information, but we have stood up a full interagency response. The Department of State, the CDC, the Department of War, everyone is fully involved in tracking Today we do have an announced today at the press briefing. There is an American that is symptomatic and has tested positive for it's the Bundibugyo virus, a strain of Ebola. That American, as well as 6 other high-risk contacts, are going to be taken out of that region and taken to Germany. We want to thank our German counterparts. That is an internationally recognized location for viral hemorrhagic fever treatments. So we're very grateful that they would take them. It's a significantly shorter flight time for Americans to receive treatment there in Germany. For all other Americans, we have issued travel warnings. We have instituted just today entry restrictions for non-U.S. citizens that are.
Okay, moving right along. Here's where it gets interesting. 4 months before the outbreak, Bill Gates' vaccine enterprise CEPI gave Moderna and Oxford $26.7 million to develop a Bundibugyo Ebola mRNA shot. Yes, the exact same Ebola strain. This is what happens when pandemic profiteers are not held accountable.
I'm going to make this up. So CEPI, co-founded by the Gates Foundation, by the way, gave Moderna and the University of Oxford 4 months ago $26 million to develop mRNA and viral vector injections against the Bundibugyo strain, the same strain now in the Congo outbreak, the new outbreak. So 4 months ago, they began developing these genetic-based injections for that very strain.
So, coincidence? I think not. 4 months before the outbreak, they funneled cash to Moderna and Oxford for that new development. Meanwhile, angry crowds are storming a hospital in Congo. Check this out.
I am at the Ruwampara hospital. We are trapped inside here. Just look at this. The angry protesters gathered just outside are currently setting fire to the medical tents of the patients suffering from the sickness because they desperately want to take back the bodies of their deceased loved ones by force. There are only a few police officers who are also unable to contain the situation. We are in desperate need of a massive intervention by the FARDC.
So, regardless of the infection, the loved ones want to take their deceased back for burial, which would, of course, only exacerbate the problem. So protesters torching medical tents to seize the bodies from the Rampara Hospital. Health officials now admit roughly 250 cases have already surfaced. 250 cases are popping off. Same virus turns people into horror movie props. After COVID, we're acting like this is normal now. Pack the sanitizer, or are we scrolling past another outbreak? So, people are reverting to the same.
Health organisation says they suspect around 250 cases so far and that 80 people have died, but they've warned that they believe this outbreak is actually much larger. They've labelled this emergency at its highest international alert, and it's understood the first case was traced back to around 3 weeks ago in the Democratic Republic of Congo, but that it's now already spread to Uganda. There has been several outbreaks of Ebola in recent decades, but what's different about this one is the strain. It is very rare, which means there's no vaccines, no treatments, and also no specific tests.
Currently, I'm on panic mode because people are dying. I don't have medicines. I don't have vaccine to support countries.
So far, the World Health Organization has stopped short of calling it a pandemic, and they've also advised not to shut any borders.
So the rare strain has no vaccine or treatment and has already jumped borders. Bill Gates was just caught laughing about the next bioterror attack. Is that right?
Bill Gates consistently, he keeps going on podcasts warning there will be another pandemic, and he says this time it's going to be a bioterror attack.
So I probably put bioterror, which is a really awful.
So they're going to admit it comes from a lab this time. And yeah, here in this video next to me, this was the illicit Las Vegas basement biolab. Federal authorities raided it last week, and thankfully it doesn't appear there was anything too bad in there, just some containers, some mysterious liquids. People went in the garage and they reported feeling very sick. So, I mean, we really don't know what was in there, but this particular lab was linked to the Reedley Biolab in California, which was seized a few years ago, and they had Ebola. They had a freezer labeled Ebola. They had humanized mice. They had COVID-19. And so, you know, we don't know what the main threat's going to be, but it's either from a basement biolab like this or the government-funded, government-ran, and nonprofit-ran biolabs. Mm-hmm. Both of them pose similar risks.
So Gates keeps warning of imminent bioattacks while authorities raided an illicit lab holding Ebola samples in Congo. Locals burned down the isolation tents, as you just saw. A mob torching the isolation tents in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo after relatives disputed a young man's death was from the virus. They stormed the general hospital. Here's some more footage from that. Let's see if we can get that shot here.
This hospital treating Ebola patients has been set ablaze by angry residents in the Democratic Republic of Congo. They threw projectiles toward the building, causing the fire, a local politician told CNN. Police fired warning shots and tear gas to disperse the crowd. The fire was started after health authorities refused relatives of an Ebola victim access to his body. The family members then tried to take the man's body from the hospital, quote, by force, eyewitnesses and local officials said.
They're setting fire to the tents of Ebola patients because they want to forcibly retrieve the bodies.
Luke Mambele, a local politician, says the incident shows the dangers of rising misinformation within the Ituri province, the epicenter of the current Ebola outbreak, as many people believe that Ebola is a lie. Some consider it a white man's invention. It doesn't exist. Mambele told CNN officers from the National Police Force were deployed to the scene to restore order.
So there's an international press report on those mobs torching Ebola tents. And then, of course, keeping our eye on this, the NIH virologist tied to the Congo fieldwork just got busted smuggling in pathogens. And here's the story now reaching Real America's Voice.
Maybe a possibility he could have had Ebola samples with him. What's going on with this story, Nicholas?
Yeah, this is another shocking story. So an NIH virologist, an Ebola expert, he literally goes in the Congo often. He has field sites in the Congo to catch Ebola from wild animals. And so he was caught at a U.S. airport earlier this year with undeclared biological samples, what are called select agents that appear to be, we know for sure, monkeypox, but as well, there could be other pathogens. There could be Ebola because we know he works with Ebola. He was caught at the airport. Now he's under administrative leave. The FBI is reportedly investigating him. And this man, Vincent Munster, was linked or actually was actively involved in gain-of-function activities with SARS-CoV-2, with Fauci and colleagues. And so you can't even make this up.
Nope. You can't make it up. So Munster facing FBI scrutiny after smuggling select agents from the Congo outbreak zone. Former CDC Director Robert Redfield claims this could turn into a major pandemic. This is according to The Hill. I suspect this is going to become a very significant pandemic. Robert Redfield, CDC, former director there. So he's fanning the flames of fear. And right on cue, UK scientists developing new Ebola vaccine that could be ready in months, according to the BBC. And the World Health Organization on cue. The Ebola outbreak in the DRC is spreading rapidly. Previously, the World Health Organization assessed the risk as high at the national and regional levels, low at the global. We're now reversing our risk assessment to a very high at the national, high at the regional, and low at the global. So far, 82 cases have been confirmed in DRC, 7 confirmed deaths. We know the epidemic in DRC is much larger. There are now almost 750 suspected cases, 177 suspected deaths. The situation in Uganda is stable. 2 cases confirmed in people who traveled from DRC with 1 death. The measures taken in Uganda, including intense contact tracing and canceling the Martyrs' Day commemoration, appear to have been effective in preventing the further spread of the virus. The American national who was working in DRC has also been confirmed positive, transferred to Germany for care, as we've reported. Also, we have reports about the other American national has taken to the Czech Republic. The government of DRC and Uganda are leading the response with support from World Health Organization and partners. In addition to our national staff in DRC, so far we've deployed 22 international staff to the field, including some of our most experienced people. We have released $3.9 million from the Contingency Fund for Emergencies. We're in touch with UN Humanitarian Chief Tom Fletcher and thank him for allocating $60 million to the response. On the ground, we're supporting national authorities with every pillar of the response, including contact tracing, establishing treatment centers, risk communication, community engagement, and more. Together with the Africa CDC, World Health is also establishing continental incident management support. In the coming days, we'll publish a multi-agency strategic preparedness response plan aligned with the national plans of both DRC and Uganda with our partners. As you know, with many previous Ebola outbreaks which were caused by Zaire virus, this outbreak is caused by the Bundibugyo virus, which there is no approved vaccine or therapeutic. There have only been 2 previous outbreaks of this strain in Uganda in 2007 and 2012. Yesterday, World Health convened the leaders of several partner organizations under the Interim Medical Countermeasures Network to review the pipeline of vaccines, therapeutics, and diagnostics. The World Health R&D Blueprint also convened its technical advisory group on therapeutics and recommended prioritize 2 monoclonal antibodies to advance in clinical trials. In addition, the advisory group recommended the evaluation of antiviral Abdelsavar in clinical trial as post-exposure prophylaxis for people who are high risk. The clinical trial being developed jointly with Africa CDC and Collaborative Open Research Consortium on filoviruses. So the World Health Organization posting all of this, and back to Nicholas Hulscher, says this will not become a pandemic.
There have been 40 Ebola outbreaks across Africa since the 1970s. 40 of them, not a single one has ever become a pandemic. Not a single one, because it doesn't spread efficiently. In fact, it's not airborne. It's not like COVID. It spreads through direct physical contact with infected bodily fluids from a symptomatic person. So this is extraordinarily difficult to spread in the Western world. Perhaps in the Congo, if they're in confined spaces, it's not very cleanly, then yeah, it'll be easier to spread. But this is most definitively not going to become a pandemic based on how Ebola operates.
So what he's saying is directly in contradiction to what the CDC, the former CDC director, says is suspected to become a very significant pandemic. So who do you believe? My money's on the independent journalists and researchers and not the institutions. The institutions don't have a good track record of telling the truth. So President Trump's visa ban, though, it's already in place, working to shield the homeland. The new outbreak is dangerous locally, but never become a global pandemic in 40 prior events because it does require direct contact with fluids. Strong borders plus honest skepticism towards prepositioned funding keep the real risk contained. America First means we do not wait for another crisis to hit our streets. So the lesson is clear. When leadership acts early, America stays safer. So share this report so more people see the contrast between open border hesitation and decisive action, and drop a yes or no in the comments. Do you support the visa restrictions to protect our country? And make sure you are with the thousands of patriots who've already texted the words raw feed to 844-840-4963. They're getting the direct updates. They're bypassing the algorithm. I want you to bypass it too. Get the updates from me right to your phone. And check out the Next News merch shelf below this video for gear that shows where you stand with America 250. We stay vigilant because protecting American families is not optional.
The system controls information. Information control is power. They don't want you to see this. The truth only survives together. They don't want this shared. Share this now. You know out.